late, one cold, dark, rainy winter night, when I was all alone, I heard a knock at my back door. I was startled. I felt my heart pounding. I slowly walked to the back door, and to my relief, there on the back porch steps was a familiar face. It was Jamie, my landlord, with the most mischievous smile on her face. I did something really dumb, she said, and in her arms she was cradling a small, fuzzy, orange tabby cat with lacerations on his nose. She explained, he'd been lost. I found him on next door. No one had claimed him. I tried to rescue him, but now this kitty is fighting with my two cats. She looked at me, pleadingly, smiling, on that cold, dark, rainy winter night. Could you take care of him? It's just for a few days. I can provide you with some food, some bowls, some kitty litter, a litter box. I looked at her. I looked at this cat. I shrugged my shoulders, said, sure, What's a few days? A few neighbors stopped by to see how I was doing with this abandoned cat. And as one of my neighbors put it, that cat's not going anywhere. It's been a few years now. He's still here. This crazy kitten who'd climb up my lacy curtains over and over again, shredding them with his razor-sharp nails, usually while I was rushing out the front door on Sunday mornings to worship. This tiger cat who would jump up behind me unexpectedly and grab both sides of my head, sometimes with his nails extended, because he wanted to play, earning him the nickname of Kato, as in Kato Fong. Some of you may remember the character in the Pink Panther who'd spring out of nowhere just to keep Inspector Clouseau on his toes. Down, Kato, down, remember? Yes, this exuberant, feisty little creature has captured my heart with his curiosity, his beauty, and his ever-growing tender affection. What can I say? I'm a cat mom, and Oliver Kato Manning has captured my heart. He is my beloved son. Reminds me of Rhea. You might be asking, what does this have to do with today's gospel from Luke? Well, it's also a story about being uniquely valued, about the experience of being lost and of being found by one who loves us no matter what, loving us into a changed life. So here's the context of today's parable. So by now, Jesus has attracted huge crowds, including tax collectors and sinners who travel with him. You might ask, what's so bad about tax collectors? So let me ask you, how many of you enjoy paying taxes? Raise your hand. How many of you like the IRS? Okay, when I was a child, my dad's an accountant. Okay, so as a child, I knew that he counted money, counting money, and it had something to do with taxes. And when I, as a child, first heard this sermon, I thought, oh no, Dad's a sinner. Until my mom told me, your dad's not a tax collector, he's a tax saver, he's a hero. He works for one of the big 5 accounting firms. But in this context, being a tax collector was much worse. Tax collectors in Jesus' time and location, they were the lackeys of the hated, conquering nation, the Roman Empire. They overcharged people to line their own pockets. And not just any people. They extracted extra money from their own people for whom and gave it to the enemy of the people. How would you feel about people like that? They were despised as traitors, extortionists, sinners. And then there's Jesus. He's traveling around with the tax collectors and other sinners, even dining with them and befriending them. And so the religious leaders who are just striving to do the right thing and obey all of those Mosaic laws and all the mitzvahs, they're highly offended that Rabbi Jesus is hanging out with these rule breakers. I can imagine them saying, sure, they come and listen to you teach, but they aren't sorry. They haven't repented. They haven't changed. You shouldn't befriend them until they do. And how does Jesus respond? Like this. Rule breakers? Listen, I came for the rule breakers. I'm like a shepherd who's so concerned with this one lost lamb that I leave the other 99 to find him. I'm like the woman who sweeps the whole house for a single coin. And when I find it, I throw a big party. Would you do this? I don't think I would. You know, the pragmatist in me says, why waste your time on one lost sheep? Cut your losses, protect the other 99. Spend your time more productively than sweeping the whole house for one lost coin. It's as if Jesus is saying, God's love for you is totally insane, totally impractical, way out of proportion, according to conventional wisdom. He riffs with the religious leaders trying to explain this, and he says, okay, it's like you're a shepherd. You know, you have a flock, right? You've got 100 sheep and you lose one of them. Or it's like you're a poor woman who's lost one of your precious coins. It's like, let me tell you another story. The parable of the lost cat, according to Pastor Laurie. So again, one other late Saturday evening, just before COVID began, I had friends over for this delicious grilled salmon and asparagus dinner. And given his cravings for fish, my cat Oliver was locked up in his studio. Given the heat, and yes, a bit of smoke from the grilling, we decided to open up the windows. Later that evening, after dinner and some wine, we thought we had closed all of the windows and decided to let Oliver out. Later that evening, while doing the dishes, I noticed that one of the windows was still open. I freaked out. Oliver is an indoor cat. He knows nothing about speeding cars on Saturday nights. He's not familiar with the Dutton Ave, Broadway, and MacArthur neighborhood. So we went out in that cold, dark night, splitting into teams, carrying powerful flashlights, and calling his name, Oliver, Oliver, Oliver. But to no avail, just silence and some confused neighbors. Given Oliver's high-strung personality, we thought he could have just kept running further and further away, or gotten into a fight, another fight, and I dreaded the possibility that he'd been hit by a car. A few hours passed, and we were searching still. Oliver, Oliver. I thought at night maybe the only thing he could recognize was my voice. By now, it was like 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. We decided all we could do is post it on Nextdoor in the hope to God that someone finds him and that he doesn't get killed. I was brokenhearted and resigned. And so I walked slowly toward the door and I unlocked it, about to step in. And then suddenly, out of the corner of my eye, I saw this flash of furry, fuzzy orange darting across the street, darting toward the front door. Oliver had come home. And there was much joy and rejoicing because my beloved Oliver, who'd been lost, was found. And the next morning, I went out and thanked all my neighbors who allowed us to walk around their backyards with flashlights in search of Oliver. And they too rejoiced that Oliver, who was lost, was found. I think that's a little bit of an example of the nature of God, only over the top, so much more. God is no pragmatist. God is madly in love with the uniqueness of each one of us. Like a cat mom, like the dad in the story of the prodigal son, loving each one of us with abandon, with this active, tireless, fierce, steadfast love that never quits, even if we do, that never quits on us. Never quits on us, especially on us rule breakers, those lost ones, like all of us, like me. I am often lost and in need of being found. So I'll share with you just one more story. On Monday, I drove to my appointment for my latest COVID bivalent booster and flu shot. I'd booked the appointment online a few days earlier at CVS in the next town in an unfamiliar neighborhood. So I turned on my voice-activated driving navigation app, Waze, and I was cutting the time close, so I drove off. And I arrived just in time at the pharmacy, where I found myself standing at the back of a very, very long line of people. Some were in wheelchairs, some were wearing compression stockings, some had big tattoos and rhinestone decorations on their jeans, and over again, Waze kept reminding me and everyone else at full volume, "You have arrived at your destination. You have arrived at your destination." I tried turning down the volume. That didn't work. "You have arrived at your destination." Shut up, Waze. I tried turning the Waze app off. That didn't work. "You have arrived at your destination." A few people started turning around. Some were smiling, a few were laughing, a few were irritated, most looking like zombies looking at the front of the line. "You have arrived at your destination." Finally, nervously laughing, I laugh sometimes when I'm nervous, if you didn't know that, I turned off the phone. Finally, a moment of silence. And the couple standing in front of me turned around smiling. They said in a loud voice, "We're glad that you arrived at your destination." Me too, because we are all lost and we are all found and we are all part of the family. So please join me in singing one of my favorite songs from Jim Manley, Part of the Family, and pay special attention because we have a new verse that's printed in your bulletin. So pull out your spirit songbook and turn to what page? Should have this memorized by now. Okay, number 10, Part of the Family. You can stand up for this too. This is a fun one. Come in and sit down. You are a part of the family. We are lost and we are found. You are a part of the family. You know the reason why you do. Yes, you know reason on my doorstep like Moses you came. Orange baby kitty in obvious pain. I opened the door and it's never been the same. For you are a part of the family. God is with us in this place. Like a cat, mom's warm embrace. We're all forgiven by God's grace. We are a part of the family. Come in and sit down. You are a part of the family. We are lost and we are found. You are a part of the family. Yay, everybody! Woo! Okay, come sit down. Okay. All right, we come to the time of prayers. I'm so glad to have the choir back. I want to just give another thank you. I know it's an early morning. It's a commitment, and I hope you're having fun so far. So I'm having fun. Yeah, I'm having fun too. Yeah. All right. So it's a time of prayer, so I invite us to settle in a little bit, and I want you to bring to mind your prayers for this morning. And in light of today's theme, I think about the extraordinarily polarizing times that we're living in. And my prayer is for our own liberation, to befriend all those we might consider the lost, the outsiders, the sinners. And you know who they are. But the one you might not be aware of is yourself. So begin with compassion. Imagine what it's like being the other, and hope that they can imagine what it's like being you. And I wonder how differently we treat one another if we actually lived each other's experience. I want to lift up continued prayers for the Kilgore family. Steve, our former moderator, his dad passed away recently. Prayers for Sentho Kilgore, whose uncle died recently, and her brother-in-law was released recently from a hospital after a terrible car accident. We continue to lift up in prayers all those who are sick and in need of healing. We lift up Dave Byron's. We lift up Claude. Are there other prayers, other people? I want to lift up people who feel lost because they're overworked. Any of you feel like that? This environment where there's more and more pressure, or because you haven't worked in a while? Or you feel lost because you've been too isolated? Or for whatever reason you feel lost, lift up prayers for connection and healing. Everyone's so quiet this morning. I want to lift up prayers for, I know the Kaiser, Laura Gilbert and I were talking, and many of you know that Kaiser had a strike for mental health workers. They were given a caseload of like as many as 12 people in a single day, so they've been on strike. So there's so many examples of overworked people and the need for unions and organizing and political mobilization, and so we lift up prayers. I also want to lift up prayers for the No Coal in Oakland advocacy works. Is back in the spotlight. So I want to give thanks to this congregation for all the work that we have done, and try to tap into our collective energy to continue to be part of this. Yeah, go ahead. Thank you. Yes. Um, one of you can. Okay. All right. Great. Great. Yeah.
Saying prayers for those of us who are supporting those in a period of lostness, that we may find ways to support them and be, led of the Lord to be a safe place for them.
Which I think gets back to befriending the part of ourselves that's lost. It makes us so much more compassionate. Thank you. Thanks for lifting that up. Other prayers this morning. I want to lift up prayers for people who are struggling with stress and depression and anxiety. COVID has been devastating. It's been so isolating. It's been stressful on economics, on the inflation. There's people who are really, really hurting, and there's still this social stigma about people who struggle with mental health. And that we recognize that the stigma is obsolete, ill-placed. We're also quiet this morning. Nancy, go ahead. Can you pick up the mic? Thanks.
Prayers, prayers, prayers for our democracy. Prayers for the divide in our country, and prayers for us to weather that, to weather what's going on, to weather that divide and still have hope.
Thank you, Nancy. Thanks. There's this divide, and the big debate is like, what do we do? Just tolerate, remain silent, and or do we have compassion at the same time, rise up and speak out against unjust actions and behaviors and policies? I saw on Facebook yesterday, this is kind of a prayer. It said, pretty sure it doesn't say, when I was hungry, put me on a bus. When I was thirsty, put me on a one-way airplane. When I was a stranger, treat me like cargo and ship me off for political gain. And then I added, pretty sure it doesn't say, thou shalt not bear false witness unless it's for political gain or money. Yeah. Got to call these things out. Yeah, Catherine.
I'm still aware of the people in Mississippi who had not had water even just to bathe,
Yeah.
let alone drinking water,
Yeah.
that they don't have to boil
Yeah.
for, I don't know, several months.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's really, it turns out it's because of a lack of taking care of the infrastructure of
Yeah.
the water system, because it's a depressed community, and I guess
Yeah.
the state, I don't know the background
Yeah.
to it, but it just makes me so aware of how things like that can happen in this country, and
Yeah.
it's just not right.
Yeah.
It's immoral.
It's, Catherine's point. There's another, I found this other post on Facebook. It's kind of I think it's a prayer. It says, Elon Musk, I need $1.5 billion on SpaceX or we'll go broke, or SpaceX will go broke, feds approved. Lloyd Blankfein, I need $824 billion for Goldman Sachs, feds approved. Charles Koch, I need $1.4 billion for tax breaks, approved. Average Joe, my wife got cancer from the polluted water and environment around here. Can we get Medicare? Feds, we're bankrupt. Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. And to not hate at the same time, or like, so it's like not hate the people. It's like it's like, what is the behavior, and to speak up and take action. It's really hard. Yeah, Rod.
just heard this morning that in some poll, I don't know what poll, that 15 million people in the United States feel that violence is justified in overthrowing the current regime and reinstating Donald Trump as president. That's 5% of the United States population.
Yeah, yeah. That this kind of violence is not normal, and we need to denounce it, and we need to not mirror it. Yeah. Katie, it's good. I like hearing from all of you. Yes.
Well, I would say it's not normal, but actually, unfortunately, it's too normal for our country. We've been ignoring the fact that these patterns have been repeating since our inception, and that we're founded on a very flawed plan and on hate and discrimination.
Yes.
We need to flip that entirely and change our way of thinking and do the reparations and do the healing that we need to do to the people that we have, to all of the people of color that we have hurt as white people. And if we don't do that, then we will keep repeating these patterns.
Amen. You know, there's the move, like Ron DeSantis. Let's just forget about history. Let's just whitewash. Let's cover up. The history. And George Santayana, those who fail to learn from history are doomed to repeat it. Yeah, it's dangerous. We need to own our history and reparations for it. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Even the parables that you were saying today with the tax collectors, it's another form of othering.
Exactly.
And so we need to stop doing the othering
Exactly.
entirely.
Exactly. There's like a whole system. Yes, exactly. Thank you. Thanks, Katie. Yeah, Carl.
Basically called Ron DeSantis' bluff and showed compassion to these people where others show hate.
Yeah, these poor people from Venezuela. There's like 3 million refugees, and it's like they walked from Venezuela to the U.S. border, and then to be, yep. Other prayers of gratitude. The rain, yes. To never take it for granted. There was a fire close to the intersection of MacArthur and 35th on Friday. It's pretty real. Thank God for the rain. Hopefully more will come. And thank God for each one of you. And thank God for our humanness and our forgiveness of one another, because we all make mistakes. I make them every week, probably every sermon, every prayer. Let's join together in the prayer that Jesus taught us. Our Creator, Mother, Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, now and forever. Amen. Jesus taught us giving is receiving. We'll now receive this morning's offering. Thank you, Sheila. And we'll also hear the choir's offertory song. Amen. So we have a number of announcements, besides the fact that the choir started. And what time does choir meet? 8:30. All right. So any drop-ins welcome? People just experimenting? Sure, okay. All right, if you just feel inspired and you want to join in. Also, this afternoon, on this perfect day for an indoor-outdoor picnic, the Homeowners Association, Hillcrest Estates, is hosting a summer social, and we're invited. It's from 2 to 4, rain or shine. So please bring, if you have your favorite game like Pictionary or Scrabble or whatever, just bring it. You can bring food or beverage to share. It's a potluck. If you have produce from your garden, bring that. Catherine and I will be here at 1 to help the team set up if you want to join us. We'd love to have you. We're going to try to prop the Easy Up tents. There's a council meeting on Wednesday. Everybody's always invited. It's at 7 o'clock, and it gives you a chance to see all the other stuff that you don't see that you might want to influence. So you're welcome to drop in. There's also, does the Political Action Committee want to make an announcement, or shall I, about the potluck and film? It's been in your bulletins. There's a film that's called Steve Bannon, Divided We Fall. It's Frontline. Some of you might have seen it, but it'll be a chance to have a discussion about it afterwards. Frontline, keep your eyes on Frontline. What's it? Oh, it's not Frontline. Oh, it's PBS. CNN, okay. Anyway, you're invited Friday, 6:30 p.m. Also, with this theme of animals, save the date, October 2nd at 4 p.m. We will have a blessing of the animals with live music, live people, live cats and dogs and goats, and come. And we'll also remember our beloved pets who have died. It's been too many years after COVID, so if you'd like to be involved, let me know. Are there other announcements? Yeah, Jim. The 30th. Yep. The 30th. Other announcements? All right, then let's join in our closing hymn. Yeah, Catherine, go ahead.
Work on the kitchen in the next 2 weeks. So if you're going to use the space, like the friendship room space, it'll be partially available, but the kitchen will not be available.
Thank you. And we're also the ADA. No. Okay, all right. Okay, all right. So let's please join in our closing hymn. Okay. So I want to extend a special thank you to the woman in the AV tower, Carolyn Noble. It is a hard job, I'm telling you. So I really appreciate our Zoom hosts. It can be challenging because there's people on Zoom, there's people here, there's always changes happening. So thank you, Zoom team. I really appreciate it. So as you go forth, thinking about lostness and being found, I return back to that beautiful quote from St. Augustine. Our hearts are restless until they rest in thee. And in those places, those times when you feel so restless, invite yourself to just let go and be held in the everlasting arms of love, wherever you find it. Because oftentimes it's in the person right next to you. Amen. Amen. Can I do what? Oh, sure.